coming to the tour and talk. We're walking around my head, works by Stephen Wright. My name is Chelsea Lester. I'm the exhibition manager here at Philadelphia's Magic Gardens. I'm the one that, thank you! I'm the one that curated this exhibition of Stephen's amazing work. We've been working on this show for about 2 years. Stephen made all of this work within the last 2 years. So he created all these bodies.
And more.
And more. We don't have it all.
Which is not here.
We have about 122 pieces on display. In total, we have 144 pieces of work by Stephen here in Philadelphia, so make sure you check our website for pieces that aren't on here. And Stephen made well over 200 pieces for this exhibition. If you don't know about Stephen, Stephen is a lovely London-based artist that created the House of Dreams, which is an art environment just like Magic Gardens. The floor to the ceiling to every inch of that house is decorated, mosaic, adorned with beautiful items and artworks, similar to Magic Gardens. This is my first time curating an exhibition with an art environment creator like Stephen, so it's been an honor and a pleasure. Tonight we're going to hear more about Stephen's creative process. We're going to learn about these beautiful families of creatures, artworks, the memory boards, which are the text pieces that you'll see in the back, the textile works, the mask, all these beautiful objects that you've all seen in a few minutes. And we'll hear more about Stephen's journey. Thank you all so much for coming. I'm going to pass it over to Stephen.
Thank you, Chelsea.
Of course.
Okay, where do I begin? Goodness me. Maybe I'll talk a little bit about my history. I've been making work since I was a child, 6 or 7. And as an only child, work has always been my brother or, my sister that I never had. So it's always been company for me, really, and still is, through difficult times, happy times, all of those different times, we have to go through. So, my relationship, I always call it the work, not my work. I differentiate. I don't know, I can separate myself from the work as well as making the work. It's a dual sort of way I have of working, really. But I think, my background, I went to university. I'm not an outsider artist. Neither is Isaiah here. I can obviously see that there's training involved here. I had 6 years of training, so I'm well qualified with a BA and a master's in fine art textiles. I was a textile designer to start with. Then I went into fashion, and I've done a lot of things, done my own collections, fashion collections, but I'm not interested in fashion to spend my life, doing something that doesn't seem that important, really. So I very quickly stopped doing that and moved into making my own work, really, which is what I've been doing ever since. But I think what is really important for me to mention, it's been really interesting this week because Emily took us to see Fonthill Castle this week, which was absolutely fascinating. Obviously, being in this environment, Isaiah's work is fascinating. And the House of Dreams is my environment in London, which is, will be my legacy. The house is my child, is my baby, is my child that I'm making and nurturing and all of those things in my lifetime. But I think what is important to mention, we've talked about this, is that there's always someone else in the background supporting that person to do that work in the first place. So Frank was the guy at Fonthill who helped Henry to make that environment. He isn't credited, and he should be. Within that environment, and that's something that is really important to me. Here we have Julia in the background supporting Isaiah to make this work, and I have Michael who helps me and is an emotional support. He doesn't make the work, but he's certainly an emotional support. I think it's very important to credit those people for who they are and what they do, because it's not the Steve show, it's not the Isaiah show. It's also there's somebody else there in the background helping and supporting. So that's something I've been thinking about for the last few days while I've been here. But anyway, I needed to say that.
Can I just say I designed the book and I did all the photographs.
Yes, you did. I didn't get involved in the book apart from making the work that's in the book, of course. But that was Michael's contribution to the house in a way, and I wanted, and you had a need to work on that book as well, didn't you? So it's something that we've done together as well. It's an important bonding of creativity, I suppose. So Emily asked me if I was interested to do the show, and I considered it for a while, and I thought, yeah, why not? I think I really want to. I want to move my work out of England. I mean, I do exhibitions in Paris, where I'm quite successful, but in terms of other countries, I haven't really done that. So, when Emily asked me, I thought, yeah, why not? So I did my research about what this place was about, and I thought it was really interesting. I also worked out fairly quickly that there were parallels between Isaiah and myself. I mean, the outcomes are not always the same for sure, but the parallels going through education, art education, being influenced by outsider art, as I really am, and obviously he is too, are parallels, thinking in a similar sort of way. So I was drawn to, that was something that I was drawn to. So I think the artwork comes from all sorts of different places. It's very random, but I usually work with sketches and drawings in my notebook, doodles, words. I work with words quite a lot. I've needed to use words over the years when I've had very difficult moments to deal with, like loss, for instance, or illness. So I would write about how I felt because it just made me feel better to offload it onto the piece of work, and then I could leave the emotion over there in that piece of work. I'm not carrying it around anymore. So I have done a lot of that over the years, and I'm still continuing to do that. I have a need to do that. And the work reflects all sorts of things, loss of friends, getting older, my childhood, but I work in a way where I don't really plan very much. I don't need to know what I'm going to be doing. I don't want to be sensible. I don't want to be an adult. I don't want to be, this is about going back to child, really, and just being spontaneous and just putting things together because I love them. I don't need to know why I love them. I don't need to know why this is with this is with this. I really don't. They just are because that's how they are. And that's enough for me to know. And I'm very often sort of approached by academics who want to know the meaning of this or that, and I can't really answer. And I do say, well, this is your job. You're the academic, not me. I'm the maker. You do your work. I've done my bit. It's up there now. It's up to you to make of it. What you will. Okay, so yeah, exploring materials, techniques, sewing, stitching. Sometimes I do mosaics within the House of Dreams, and I've done a fair share of mosaicing, but it's too slow for me as well. Sometimes I need, because that is, very methodical, mixing the cement, putting things in it's like, and that, and that's fine. But sometimes I need to work really spontaneously and really quickly, and just make quick marks, physical, ways of working. So it only really answers, part of my creativity. Really, I need to work much. Quicker. Speed is important to me as well. And what I'm doing, of course, really through the process of making all this work, is that really events that have happened in 2004, 5 and 6 have really affected my life since then, really. The loss of a partner before, Michael Donald, who I was with for 25 years, and then my parents died within a short time. So within 18 months, I had lost the 3 people in my life that I loved and cared for. And as an only child, that was really difficult. So the work became an extension of, the family. I started to make a family of, the work is my family, as well as the family that I got, I have with Michael now. It's, I don't always know about what all that is about, but I know it's made for comfort, it's made to heal, all of those things really. So that's has become part of the work process over the years for sure. Making another family, yeah, indeed. And it's obsessive. I love working. It's who I am. I'm an artist. I'm someone who is creative. I don't want to play the game, which that piece of work says behind this gentleman here. I don't want to play the game that's going on out there in the world. I'll play my own game, thank you. I don't need to be told what to do. I'll make the rules up how I want it to be. And I'm not saying that's an easy journey, because it isn't. But I stand up for who I am and what I have to offer. And this is going to be it, because that's how it's going to be. That's an important part of this work as well. Because we're all being forced to conform to something or to fit in with everything. And this one isn't going to do that. This one's going to do it how I want to do it. And that's what this environment says, of course. It says, these are my rules. And that's why I feel at home here, because there's a similar sort of message coming through here. So yeah, it is obsessive, and there is a compulsion for me to make work. I'm also very competitive with myself. I want me to do the best I can do. It isn't, me being competitive with you or with you. It's with myself. I give myself a hard time. I want the best. Michael would tell you. It's never enough. In my house there's a sign that says it's never enough, and it is never enough. As much as you give it, and I give it a lot, it's still never enough. It just goes on and on. As long as you can breathe, you go on working. There's a sign in there that says, something like, I will keep on producing work as long as my body allows me to, and that's what it means, as long as I can go on. So I was put on this earth to do what I'm doing. I can't do anything else. This is what I do best. This is what I do well. I don't really want to do anything else. This is what I'm here to do, really. So, outsider art is an influence for sure. We've visited a lot of environments, haven't we? In India, Nek Chand's wonderful garden in northern India, which just made me cry for 2 days virtually. It was so wonderful, because I'd seen it in books, but we're actually standing in front of it, going, wow. Lots of environments in France as well that we visited. There are a lot of outside environments in France, really, really good ones, special. What do I put here? I think it's important also to, I think I was saying to Emily earlier, that I've sometimes been labelled an outsider artist, which is rubbish, because I'm not. I can't be. I've been through the system too much. I know, I'm educated. So I've never said that, although I've had that label, but it certainly isn't accurate at all. It's never something I've ever said. I think that's probably as much as I want to say for now, and that's where my notes finish anyway. So I think I'd quite like to throw it open to you if you want to ask me anything, and if I know...
So a couple of things to what you just said.
No.
It's just said it's never enough. Mm-hmm. And what is out there is a real example of it's never enough. It's never enough for Isaiah. It's never enough for you. No. My job from time to time has been to say enough. Enough.
I don't like that.
And he doesn't like that. But it's an important part that you...
Yeah, I get that too.
And I know that both of us would like to thank Emma Emily.
Yes.
Absolutely, for the and wonderful support Emily and Chelsea have given us. We have hugged so many people in this city and loved doing it. He even got a hug from the cabin crew as we left the plane in Philadelphia. I have never ever seen that. And it was me who fed back how good they were, but I didn't get the hug, he got the hug.
I got a kiss on here.
So we want to thank them. It's been an extraordinary thing to
Yes,
be
it
here
has.
with Isaiah
It has.
and Julia.
Yeah.
And I've captured on film moments when the two of them have had kind of conversations and experiences together that we both on our for that being part of it.
Yeah, I feel like I've learned a lot from being here. You know, never stop learning and finding out about yourself through that process. And certainly it's been a gift in that way to learn from Isaiah. And Emily and Chelsea have made that happen. And that's a really, really important part of what this has been about for me and us, really.
As indeed has everybody in this building. Emily, and I don't know how she
I'd agree with that.
but everybody has been exceptionally welcoming and warm.
I'd agree with that.
There are people here today moving outside the building from Dirty Frank's. Wonderful times already in Dirty Frank's. We're going to do this again. But everywhere we've been.
We won't go there, Michael. We won't go there. So if, I mean, obviously, you know, there's lots of joy in the work and there's lots of other stuff as well. It's about the work, my work, the work is about life. It's about life. We all go through stuff. We all have things to deal with at some point. So, you know, the work really reflects all of those experiences, really. So, does anybody want to ask me anything? Okay.
So you spoke to this a little, but I thought I just wanted you to speak a little bit more to your process. You said you don't plan anything.
No.
So, you know, when inspiration strikes, like when you, what time of day do you typically work?
Okay.
How do you sort of?
I can talk about, absolutely. I can talk about that. I mean, we are married, Michael and I, but actually we live separately, which works for us. We live about a mile away from each other. And I get up really, really early when I'm at home. I'm in the summer, 4:30. I'm, to use an English expression, I'm gagging to work, which means I just need to get some work done, basically. So I'm up in the studio. I work all day. You know, I'm very disciplined, as I always have been disciplined. But you know, I had a goal here to, you know, produce work for this show. But so I'm very disciplined. Every day I'd work every day, but I finish about 6, and then I go to bed at 8:30, 9. Then I get up and I start again, and then I do the same, and then I do the same again. So it's very ordered in that way. But then, you know, within the day, anything happens. I have no idea what's going to happen. I really don't. And if I do know, then I don't want to know.
Right.
Then, you know, I destroy it or just paint all over it or do something, and then I start again. It's an exhausting process sometimes. It's not easy, but who wants it easy? I don't. Yeah. So.
What does it feel like as an artist yourself who has this sort of compulsive need to create, to come to somebody else's space who also has that compulsive need? Is it like...
Family. Family. That's Isaiah is family. That's how it feels. I feel like I'm absorbing his energies, and he's older than me, so I'm learning a lot from that experience, and it's feeding my own work, and it will certainly change things at home when we get home, the way that what I do with the museum now. I need to get on with some work. I need to move things on again to another gear, you know, in a much more dramatic sort of way. It's, you know, I can't remember what you asked me, sorry.
What does it feel like to be in someone else's space?
Extraordinary, extraordinary, overwhelming, extraordinary. And I've learnt so much from that. That's what I think. I'm going to take away so much. Yep.
So some of these things, did you like draw out that mask before you decided, and when did you decide it was going to look like that though? Just started popping?
Only in the work process. Only in the work. I sort of sit in my studio is a sea of materials, so I sit in the middle of it, basically. Select things and then put them on the table and then start to work on the table and see what happens and where it goes. I don't really know. I don't really know what's going to happen. I don't know. I don't want to know, because that's the exciting bit when you work with with spontaneity. And I mean, it's not always amazing. Sometimes I do end up with something and I think, what is this? And it really isn't working. So then I just throw it away or do something with it. I don't know, burn it or something. I mean, I do get quite angry with the work sometimes. It's not always amazing. It's not always it's lovely.
No pre-thing like I'm feeling lonely, I want to make a mother, or I don't. It's just.
It's random.
Right.
It's random. I mean, there might be some notes in my notebook about something. I mean, that part there where it says "I don't want you to touch me" was actually when I was on the London Underground and you couldn't move for people around you, and it was just like, just get out of my face.
Right.
I just need some space, so I would then get off the Underground and get into a carriage. So it was just too much. It was just sort of, and that's what I don't want you to touch me. I just want you to get away from me. So it's sort of random thoughts and random events, that happen along the way.
You were talking about Michael. I'm just nervous.
No, that's not right. I know you are.
I know, but I did wonder when I first saw it.
Get out of here.
I was just going to ask, kind of on that note, you have a lot of words in your work. Do you journal at all beforehand?
Yeah.
You do? Okay.
Yeah, I do write words down quite a lot. What was interesting is seeing Isaiah's work, the amount of drawings of self-portraits particularly, and drawings. I don't do that anything like as much as that. I don't need to. But I do write a lot. Yes, I do. I will write about this event, random thoughts that I felt about it, really. Yeah.
So creating these pieces as like an extension of your family, or putting your emotions, how does it feel to let them go, right? If they're sold or leaving them here,
Fine. They need to go and have a life.
You're sending your children off to college.
Yeah, they go. Goodbye. I don't need to watch over them after I've made them, really. No, I don't. I don't at all, really. Occasionally I will save a piece of work that I think is really, really, really special. And it's not because I want to hang on to it, but for an emotional reason. It's because, the techniques are interesting, or, I've done something in it that I haven't done before, so I want to use it as a resource piece in some way. No, I don't hang on to the work. I don't need to. Really, I don't need to. I've done it. I want to do something better the next day. So you leave it behind. You deposit. You leave them behind. I don't think it's good to get attached to them. I mean, I think, I know when I've done something really, really special, I need to put the price up a bit. That's true. But no, not attached. No, it's only in the moment I'm attached, and I'm actually making it. It's really exciting, and then you've got to think, oh wow, what's this? But then once it's you've done it's finished. The experience is finished. So you keep it here, the experience, but then that goes off, and somebody buys it, and that's fine.
What's your most recent new discovery in your own work? What is a new process or a technique that you're like, oh?
That's a good one. I think what I'd say is that in that book, there's a series, they're not very, very recent, but it's a series of work that has not been developed yet. And I'm really waiting now to develop it. There's maybe 4 or 5 pages of costumes in that book, which are about alter egos. And we all have them. And so I admit to some of mine and actually make the costumes and inhabit these other beings. That's an area that I really want to work with, because I haven't done that before. I don't know how to do it, but I will. So that is new, and that's a new area. So I'd say that is really the thing that I'm thinking about now.
Thank you.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Hi.
Do you work in silence, or do you have music?
No, I don't have much music on, no. One of my things, I wish I did work in silence. Living in a busy city, it's noisy, and that sometimes does my head in. Yeah, I don't like the noise. Yeah, the building work and the noise that is going on constantly does my head in sometimes. So I sometimes work with things in my ears, earplugs to cut the noise out. I don't need to hear music really very often, no. I just want to be left with me and the work, really. I don't want any outside influences, and I put my answer phone on or something, I don't answer the phone. I just don't want to be, I just want to be left alone to get on with the work. Yeah.
At 7:30, before you hit the hay, do you put something on?
Oh, I'll put the TV on.
Yeah. Musically?
No. I usually, watch sort of crappy TV before I go to, a soap or something. We have lots of soaps in England that it's easy, to relax to, and then I just go to bed, and then I start again. It's very disciplined. It's a very disciplined way of working, because that's the only way I can get work done, really, if I don't, Hi. Hello.
I have a question about your process together.
That's a good one. Yeah.
And how did you deal with, let's say, disagreements?
We didn't have. No, let me. No, I need to explain this to start with. I think because, on a serious point, just for a minute, when I started the House of Dreams with Donald when he was alive, he had quite an input into the house. So it was important in a way, I think, for Michael to also feel that he wasn't sidelined, but he was involved within that house and what was going on. I've done the same with Michael as I did with Chelsea in a way, is that I trusted eventually. At the beginning it was difficult to hand over all that work. I mean, there's 20 years of work or whatever it is, a lot of work there for someone else to handle and to make a book out of. It was quite difficult for me at the beginning because I wanted to control everything. But then that word trust was brought in, and Michael said, you need to learn to trust me. And he said, I'll do it. I'll do a really good job. So then I learned about trust. Trust was the word, really. So I trusted him when he said he would make a good job. So I didn't get involved in the book really at all after the work. Not really. I mean, you showed me images from time to time, but it was your baby. It was your thing. And trust with Chelsea was the same thing. And it's hard to trust people with your work. It was something that is really important to you.
This is not the first book. When the house
it's the second book.
Opened, we made a book. And that's what kind of promoted the House of Dreams right from the outset. In fact, on our open days, a lot of people had seen the book in bookshops, but they didn't see the house. So it has been a way of drawing people to the house, because we were really aware right from the outset that we can't have as many people coming through as you have here. And so we wanted them to self-select. So having a book, and this new book, which is absolutely still part of that, was a way of drawing people people in who would see it and think, I like that. I may like the environment and the work of the artist who's doing it. But when we first met, we met through an advert in Soulmates in The Guardian, and Stevie described himself as easygoing.
Don't go into all this.
And actually, he is. He is, because to hand over all that responsibility to me.
It was a big thing for me.
It was a big thing.
Yeah, it was a big thing.
It was a big responsibility, and we've been really pleased that there was.
Yeah, I mean, it's
both here and in France, because it's in French.
It's doing really well in France and England too.
And in England, and now here. So do have a look at it. We will sign any copies that anyone should purchase. I'm happy to do so. But the concept of the book, and indeed the postcards, have been a really important part of the house's success and your work.
Hi. No, either. Whoever.
You've mentioned that you are always feeling the need to create.
Yeah.
Is there ever been a point where you felt stuck, or maybe have any advice for artists who have that need to create, but something's holding that back, whether that be overwhelming emotions or perfectionism? Do you have any advice or experience to speak of?
Well, I don't. Yeah, I mean, perfectionism is an awkward word for me because I don't really know what that means. I don't work with that word. What does it mean? What is perfect? What is, I don't know what that means. I think that if you're overwhelmed with emotion, then you should start to write about it, start to offload it, because you'll sort of get so constipated with words and feelings that you're not going to be able to work. So I think, just make a mess. Just make a mess with paint. Just make a mess. Don't think I want to make a wonderful painting, or I want this to be extraordinary. It doesn't really matter, as long as you start somewhere and something leads to something else and don't be precious. It's only paint and paper. It's only fabric. It's not like World War III, is it? Do you know what I mean? It's not that. It isn't precious. I mean, it is precious when you're making it, but equally it's not. You have to look at it like that. It's not everything. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's to do with my art training, actually. Not to be precious about it. I'm not precious at all, and I'm certainly not on an ego trip either, because I know with the House of Dreams that people know the House of Dreams. They don't know my name particularly. That's all right. It's not about me. In a way, I don't care. It's about the house. As long as that is remembered, that's what's important to me. Steve's name doesn't really matter. Not really. Sorry, did you want to?
For Michael.
Over to you, Michael.
Past projects before this, were you involved in other
Art.
When I went to art school,
yeah.
I've got a degree in graphic design. I think it'd be very difficult for Stephen to have a relationship with someone who didn't have some of that kind of sensibility, really.
Yeah.
So yes, but the house is still it's not a shock, but the impact on the first time, when people said to me, what's his house like? I'd say, well, imagine you having a hallucinogenic experience in a Mexican sweet shop while it's invaded by Irish pastor saints and they make a Bollywood movie. You'll have a beginning of an idea about what the house is like. And they all went, yeah, all right. And then when they came, they all went, oh my God.
Which you will get here, I'm sure.
So it's been an extraordinary learning curve for me, but we have learnt so much about the work and the house from the people who've come to visit
people like yourselves, absolutely.
And we say to every single person who comes to the house, each and every one of you come with an energy, and when you leave, a little bit of that energy stays behind. So thank you for being part of the House of Dreams. And I think that's true here as well.
Me too.
I think people sense that and feel that, and there's no way of kind of quantifying it, but it's certainly part of what happens in the house, and why we think that the radio documentary about the House of Dreams on Radio 4 was the best documentary. It's on BBC Sound. You can download the app. It's only half an hour. It's an extraordinary piece of documentary making by a woman called Eleanor McDowell.
And that isn't visual. It's, you know, for people like yourselves visiting the house and talking to us. So, but I just need to say also that whilst I've been here, I'm working with Isaiah has been extraordinary. I know I'm in the presence of someone who's special, and I hope a little bit of that rubs off on me. And that will stay with me forever. This is a very special environment. It's an emotional environment, and it's all sorts of things, and it's extraordinary, and it's something I will take away from being here really forever. Yeah, absolutely. So, anyone else? Okay. Hi, Emily.
How did you come up with and choose the name House of Dreams?
Oh, that's a very simple one, I think. I was sitting in front of the fire at home in the front room, an open coal fire in England. It was cold in the winter with Donald when he was alive, and we had a bottle of wine, 2 glasses, and we thought, let's make a museum. What should we call it? And we got a bit drunk, and we said, let's call it the House of Dreams. That's where it came from. No big sort of, that is it. That's where it came from. And it is a house of dreams, a house of nightmares, a house of dreams. It's both, sometimes. It's a responsibility. Having a museum is a responsibility.
I'm just wondering if you've ever heard of a place called Luna Park in New Jersey?
Yeah, we've just been looking at it this afternoon online.
Yeah, you can only see it a few times a year.
Yeah.
I haven't seen House of Dreams.
Yeah, Ricky.
It seems very similar, Ricky, the artist. Yeah.
I'm sure we'd get on well.
I'm sure you'd find another kindred spirit.
Exactly. Absolutely. Yeah, we've been looking at that already.
We'll bring you up to meet Ricky.
We'll go and see Ricky. Okay.
Yeah, it's only 3 hours away.
That's all right. So that's it, really. Anyone else?
Okay, we can head to the back gallery.
Okay. Hi. If I could just bring your attention to the film in here a little bit. The people that, I don't know whether you've seen it already or not, I don't know. But the people on there, Chelsea's going to line it up. My parents and Donald. I don't speak about this before. Well, yes, I sort of did. They are enablers. Michael is an enabler to make work. My parents enabled me to have a life that I have through education and, through financial difficulties, sending me to university. It was hard for them to do that, but they didn't want me to have a life that they had, which was hard physical work, and also working, with Donald. He was an enabler. He enabled me to produce work. So it's important to acknowledge those people, and certainly Michael is a big enabler now and has been so for 20 years, which is a long time. So I just wanted to show you, a little bit about my parents and Donald. That's okay. Okay, so really this, again, is a similar way of working throughout, really. It's we're going to show the film in a minute, because I'm going to talk first, but... Yeah? Okay, no problem. Lots of random thoughts. I mean, this was made just before Emily and Chelsea came to pick the work up. It's sort of about, getting older, producing work for as long as I can. Things like this here, I wanted to work with scale because I don't get the opportunity to work on a large scale like this really very often. So working with an image that did start as a little sketch in my notebook in black and white, but then really translating that into colour. I have a thing about gloves and feet and eyeballs and things. So I collect, if I find, a glove on the floor, I'll pick it up, I'll take it home. I just use things that I find in the street out here. I've been picking things up from the road. My suitcase is full of crap. And but, I use all this stuff and sew it together or something. Like on here, this was found in the street outside, the house that just been thrown away from somewhere. The whole thing has just developed. I'm pushing things all the time. This is obviously reflecting on, loss, and just take a long time to get over it. Probably took me 10 years. And then equally, I'm sort of questioning myself, am I good enough? Which is sort of, am I good enough? On those days when I have doubt. And then other days when I'm feeling really sort of, that, I don't need your permission to be me, thank you. I was born this way. This is who I am. This is what it is. That's how it's going to be. So it sort of switches. I'm not always confident. It's, it's sort of like that. That's part of the process. But yes, really wanting to work with scale, little bits, all the materials that are in here, I can remember where everything is from. In the House of Dreams, there's thousands of objects. I know where everything is from because I brought it in for a reason. It has an energy, objects from Paris that, we love and it's very near for us to get to. Special place from India, from Mexico, from Haiti, those sort of cultures. I'll use materials from India that I bought in Varanasi when we were there. Excuse me, I do have a cold as well, so I might begin to I can feel myself going a bit. Can I have some water, please? Excuse me. So yeah, all of the materials are important to me. It's not any old bit of rubbish. It's selected to use for the energy or for the the memory that where I bought them. This was bought in Paris. I only want to use things that I get excited about, but also quite a lot of the materials have a history. When I bring things into the house, when I buy things, I don't wash them. I just leave them as they are. Sometimes they're smelly. I don't care about that. It's the residue of the history of the objects I like. I don't want to cleanse them. I don't want to wash them. Fabulous, thank you. So that's a really important part of the work as well. It's quite childlike sometimes. I just use materials that I love, and I love colour, so I just explore colour. It's very random, really. What can I say? And then thoughts, this is a very recent piece as well when I did this. Life is unfinished, the end. It's sort of thinking about life all the way through, because obviously I'm older, so I'm reflecting a little bit about stuff. And, life is unfinished, and maybe that's how it should be. I don't know. So sometimes I want to run away and get out of the house and never come back. That's true, because living in a museum and the responsibility and, the repair work. I never even thought about, having to repair a museum when, we live in London. It's cold in the winter, things crack. I mean, I hate working over work. You know, I hate having to repair things. It does my head in. But it's part of the job. That's what you have to do unless you want it all, you know, all over the floor. So, you know, I have to repair. So, and sometimes Michael's taught me to be good to myself, which I've never been very good at that. I mean, when we first met, I didn't have a sofa in my house. Didn't have anything to sit on. It was very uncomfortable because I like being uncomfortable. So we'd sit, you know, I'd say, well, we can sit on the floor. So comfort is something that I've learnt, you know, with my relationship with Michael. So it's all about my life, really, and certainly you have to stand up for things you believe in. So it's all that stuff, really, all that sort of stuff. These ones were drawings in a notebook again, yeah, they were. But then the implements to mark make were all around my studio. They were on the floor, or they were in, you know, the tool drawer. There's a spanner here. You know, everything was just around me. I'm just using things to mark make and just explore that, really. And these are a family again, of course, aren't they? They're three sort of totem poles almost, really. And I like reducing things to very, I mean, I've done a lot of work in black and white, believe it or not, over the years, because I really like to reduce, you know, the colour palette to, you know, to very simple colour sometimes. I mean, throwing colour on doesn't always do it. Excuse me, I'm going to have some water. That's nice. So yeah, this is the last piece I made, I think, before Emily came to pick and Chelsea came to pick the work up. And Michael helped me to design that as cutouts, and you know, I designed it on a piece of paper, this one, but then to actually practically make that, I didn't have a clue how that was going to fit together. So Michael worked out a sort of way of putting it together that, you know, we could assemble it here. Things had to be flat because of transportation. That is the last piece, and I think there's going to be a lot more of those now, and bigger and taller, and they'll be in the garden maybe as well. I think that's where they're going to go, because I have a big garden. I'm very lucky to have a big garden in London. Here I think is a really interesting area that Chelsea put together, because Chelsea has curated the work and made an environment within an environment, and I think that's a really interesting development. Has moved the work on in a different sort of way, and that feels like a complete space, really. I find that really exciting, and I think that might be a way to go for the future. Everything I write about is true. It's all true. I don't make it up. I just write it as it comes from the heart, from the soul, you know. You know, I do know what it's like to lose a partner. It's shit. That's what it is. So, you know, I just write it, and all of those things are, and I also know how to survive, because I'm here and I'm now in a loving relationship with Michael. So I know how to survive all of that too. I owe it to myself to do that. So there we are. Do you want to ask me anything, or are we there now? Should I?
I have a question about your fabric work. How do you bring them together? Are you sewing them by hand, or are you using a machine?
I've done a little bit of machine work, but I like to use my hands. I am a maker. You know, the physicality of that is what I enjoy, really. I don't really like a sewing machine too much. It's too lazy and it's too regular. I like things to be lumpy and bumpy and handmade. With all the mistakes and all of the stuff, I just leave it all in, really. So, yeah, handmade is where I am, really. That's what I enjoy doing.
I have a question about that.
Yeah.
I mean, when we pulled that piece out, we couldn't photograph it in your house. Did you see, is this the first time you're seeing that piece in its entirety?
Yes. It's the first time I've seen all the work together like this in this exhibition, because my studio isn't big enough to hang all of the work.
So how did you do that piece? You couldn't really even, because obviously I've been in your studio,
just...
Pieces and then just hoping for the best?
Yeah. Yeah, really, I was. Yeah. I mean, it was, it was on the table and then it was all over the floor and sort of, and I just worked on it, in a heap, really. That's what I did. And, hoped it was going to be all right. And, I have skills, so I thought it would be. Okay.
So your handwriting is is very consistent on all these pieces of art in that there are big letters and small letters and some are capital, like big and small in size, and some are capital and some are small letters with a little bit in size.
I can explain why, if that's what you're going to ask me.
I was just curious what you would have to say about it. I know how I receive it.
Okay, well, I don't know how you perceive it, but certainly for me, I'm mildly dyslexic, and that's how I write. End of.
I receive it as like loud and quiet.
Okay.
Like it's like, I feel like it has a volume to it.
Okay. That's great. I mean, that's how I write. I always have done. And I am dyslexic, yes. I mean, I am challenged by quite a lot of things. But making work isn't one of them. That's something I'm able to channel my energies into. That's it, really. Hey?
I say it's also dyslexic.
Yeah, it's a language. Making work is a language. It's a way of speaking. Because there's a sign in my house that says I can't even remember something about I'm not very good at using words. Sorry. Good point. No, I do. I don't think I am. I mean, I'm not an academic. I'm not. I'm a doer. I'm a maker.
Do you have a lot to say?
I have a lot to say because I have attitude and I have things I want to say.
I have a lot to say too.
Good. Keep it going.
There's obviously things you're onto, repetition in your work. Do you work that kind of code? Are there things that are significant to you that might be more secretive that people wouldn't pick up on necessarily?
That's interesting. Yeah, there are other messages going on in this work that I don't want to talk about.
Yeah.
And it's like that in the house as well. It's really interesting because when you come to the House of Dreams, it's bright orange, it's pink, it's yellow, it's all of those things. It's a bit of tinsel, it's a bit of stuff. But actually, once you start to look, it's really interesting because when people come to the house and they haven't done their research, they think it's a bit of colour. But actually, when they come in the house and they start to read something about, washing your loved one's body down, as I do write about in the hallway as you go into the house, then because that's what I did and that's the truth. So why not? It's my house. I'll write what I want. So people are actually sometimes a bit, they're jolted, and it's good for them because they should have done their research before they came. So there are lots of things going on within the house, sure. And in this work too, yes. But I'm not going to talk about those. I don't want to. Anyone else?
You had mentioned the scale of those pieces.
Yeah.
Your random process, how do the environments that you're going to be presenting your work influence how you make it?
That's a good question. I think that I did what I wanted to do for this show. I looked online a lot as to what this place was about and seen the films, Isaiah's films. But I think that I needed to pursue my own path within that. I didn't want the imagery he used to influence me. So in a way I work with the spirit rather than of what this place is about as opposed to the imagery. Although, I look at folk art, I look at all sorts of things. But it didn't really influence me hugely, but the spirit did. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's a very nice way.
Okay. Anyone else? Have we finished? Do you want me to talk any more?
Do you have something that you picked up? You said you like have found stuff while you're in Philly. Is there something you're like especially excited about that you found while you're here?
That's a good question. I mean, we went to Isaiah's studio for starters. You know, I didn't pick these things up, but you know, we worked in the studio on. No, I didn't walk off with them. No, I didn't. So I worked with, you know, Isaiah for a few hours in the studio on some tiles, which I think are eventually going to be used in the garden. And that was really interesting to do that. And then Emily kindly exchanged some of his, you know, his work, which will now go into the House of Dreams. That's really nice that I'm going to take them back to London. But yeah, bits of plastic that I found on the floor, that things that, you know, look like a nose or an eyebrow or something like that. I've got those in my bag. What else did I find? Yeah, I mean, really just bits of plastic on the floor or bits of tin or something. I mean, you know, and they're dirty, and that's how they're going to stay. I'm just going to use them as they are, really. What I do with them, I don't know. They'll just go in a pile in the studio, and then I just pick them out when I want to make something. I'll, you know, sew them on or stick them on or something. Yeah.
Do you have photographic memory? How do you remember where everything comes from?
I just do, because I only use things that mean something to me.
No catalog or anything?
No, it's just my head.
That's interesting. That's really
Just my brain. I mean, just. I mean, my brain, yeah. I mean, I'm very lucky to be able to remember it all so far. But I can remember everything for a reason. Everything's for a reason. So, I mean, the house has, you know, thousands of objects, but everything is there for a reason. I can tell you where it's from. Virtually everything. Virtually everything. Yeah. Okay. So I think the rest of the film, for, you know, for people who want to watch the film, you're very welcome, and we can take the chairs through there, and Chelsea can carry on with the film in there.
Yeah, I'll turn the film back on, but you're all welcome to look through the galleries. Also, there are some books in the middle gallery where we just were.
We'll go through
if you'd
that.
like to purchase some, Stephen will sign it for you.
Will do.
We have some prints, and there are also exhibition catalogs in each gallery if you want any details about the work that you see here. Every piece is for sale.
Excuse me.
Sold, so.
Thank you. You're welcome.